What's up everyone, and welcome on back for another video here on my channel. Thank you so much for joining me if you are one of my returning subscribers, and if this happens to be your first time stopping by on the channel, hello, my name is Monet. I am 28 years old, and here on this channel I am dedicated to budgeting and sharing my finances. I mainly use the cash envelope system, so that is the majority of the content that you can find here on this channel. So if that is something that you are interested in, something that you enjoy watching, then of course be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and join the family, and be sure to hit the bell so that you will always be notified for the next time I upload a video. So within today's video, we are going to do our monthly reset. This is something that I do every month. I close out the previous month and set up the budget for the new month. So that is what we will be getting into today. It is an exciting one because of course it's a fresh new year, so we will be budgeting for January 2025. But before we do that, let's go ahead and close up December 2024. So if you're interested in seeing any of that, then of course just keep on watching. All right, so here we are back with our budget template. As always, let me remind you that if you are interested in this template, this is a template that I created myself, and the link to get access to this can be found down below within my description. It's on my website and on my Etsy. So we will start off with our December budget. We see that I am already filtered on actual, so let's go ahead and see how we did for the month. So getting started with filling out our actual income for full-time, I was able to bring in the $4,352. I am salary, so majority of the time I know what numbers I am working with. So now that we know what we have, let's see how we did for the month. So getting started with bills and first focusing on rent, that did not change. That was the same $1,680, so that is what we paid for that. Regarding my utilities, this is for water, trash, and sewer. This is a bill that does vary, so I was budgeting $60. I figured I was a little bit high, so seeing that I came in under at $46, that was nice to see, but also expected. The next thing that we have for bills is internet. Now I budgeted $56 because that's normally what I pay, but at the start of December, my bill was showing $65. So of course I called the internet company and I was like, something is wrong. I should only be paying $56, not $65. And they said something about the rate went up for the service and all this stuff, and I honestly didn't care. I was like, I got no notice of a rate going up. I normally pay $56, so that is what I should be charged. Sometimes you do have to, be a little assertive, I guess, because I have been having problems with this internet service for a while. I would not recommend, but eventually I got transferred to somebody, and they said that they were gonna adjust my bill to take off like a discount for me being a long time value customer, and then they were also going to send me a Visa rewards card or something like that for $100, and I can use the credit towards my internet for that as well. I have yet to receive the Visa reward card or whatever. It says it's still in the mail, but my internet did come down lower than what I anticipated. So now it's showing that I only paid $50 for my internet. So I'm not gonna complain because he told me it was supposed to be the standard $56, but whenever my bill is low, I don't put a question mark where God put a period. So I'ma just leave it at that and take my win. But that is always a recommendation to call. If you ever see something off, you call. Even if you want to negotiate a lower price. Back in the day when I was living in Jersey and I had Verizon and I saw that my internet bill kept going up and going up, I called constantly to see if there was anything that I can do. And if you've been there for a while, leverage how long you've been with the company and you might get somebody that helps you. Now, don't get on the phone and be nasty. There's no need to be nasty to these people. Just let them know your frustrations nicely and someone might be able to help. But anyway, $50 for internet, that is what we have for December. And moving on to electricity, I budgeted high because I know we're creeping up into the time where my electricity bill is going to start looking crazy. And for December, I started using my heat more, but I guess since I wasn't here for like half of the month, then it wasn't as bad. But I put $150, but I actually only had to pay $92, which is great. But for next month, I don't anticipate it to be that low. All right, then the last thing that we have here for bills is rollover. This is basically like my buffer or my cushion that I keep within my checking account. And normally whatever dollars I have left after I finish putting everything in, I just put that in my rollover and it slowly builds over time. So we will come back to that. And now we can move on to expenses. First expense here we have is for gas. Gas for the month, I gave myself a low gas for the month for $50, and that is exactly what I stuck to, and that worked out good for me. As for spending, I budgeted $220. I actually gave myself $285. This was a little bit higher of a spending month because of the holidays and because I went to Miami before the holidays, so spending was used a little bit more. Groceries, I budgeted $250, and $250 is what I gave myself for the month. Toiletries was $100, and it received $100. Clothing with $40, and eating out with $80. So overall for expenses, in line for the most part, given that it was a crazy hectic month, I'm proud of that. So that looks good. And now we can move over to savings. Within savings, first up, we have my sinking funds and versus annual payments that did receive the $60. Car maintenance was budgeted at $40, and that's what it received. Car insurance with $80. Christmas, I budgeted to give myself $100 because there was a gift that I had my eye on and I thought I didn't have enough, but ultimately I really didn't have to add the $100. I was able to work with what I had in the envelope for the month, so I gave nothing to Christmas. And moving on, we have gifts. Gifts, I budgeted $20, so I put $20 in there. Household received $30 for the month. Medical did not get anything. Travel, I budgeted $200, but ultimately was able to give myself $310. Basically the money that I didn't put into Christmas, I went ahead and added that to my travel, as I always do. And for home, I budgeted $575. That was the last bit I needed to complete $10,000 in total for the year saved within that fund. And as we know, I did hit that. So $575 is what that received. So that is it for savings. Then over here we have investments, and the only thing I have listed here is my Roth IRA. I budgeted $560 to be added to this account for the month, and that is what it received, $560. Here we have debt, but I am debt free, so there's nothing for me to add in that column. But as for everything else, it has been added. We see here that I am left with $4, and I'm gonna go ahead and dump that in my rollover. So in terms of allocations, that is everything of how I divvied out the paycheck for December. So we can go ahead and look at my income summary and see overall how I did. So in terms of income, we know I started with the $4,352, no change there. In terms of bills, I actually came in at $1,872. So that was $75 less than what I had budgeted. And then for expenses, I actualized at $805. So that was $65 more than what I budgeted. And then as for savings, that was $1,115. So I was able to give $10 more than what I thought. And then investments with the $560, that's exactly what I budgeted. So no change there. And then overall, we're left with $0, which gives me a zero-based budget. And that is always how I like to allocate my funds, to give every job a purpose. So looking at our pie chart and seeing the difference between budgeted and actual. In terms of bills, we came in slightly under at 43% versus the 44.7. Expenses are showing at 18.5%, so a little bit more than the 17% that we projected. Savings is the same with 25.6%. And investments is also the same at 12.9%. And then in terms of the graph, for my savings breakdown, as I like to see, majority of the savings went to the home fund at 51.6%. And then right after that is travel. And then the rest of my sinking funds make up the rest of that pie chart. So not too bad. I like where everything went. So honestly, can't complain about the month of December. I had a good time with family, and I'm happy the budget didn't get blown out of proportion. Now we can actually see what I spent my money on and how the percentages for that worked out. In terms of variable expenses, I track these categories here. So I have gas, spending, groceries, toiletries, and clothing. And for the entire month of December, I spent $1,133 across these categories. If we look at it by category, first up we have gas. Gas was a total of $64 that I spent for the month, and that was about 5.6% of my spending. I went and got gas 3 times. Normally I spend about $80 on gas, so I was just gone for the 2 weeks. Up next we have spending, which is one of the biggest ones. So spending as a total was $385, and that was 34% of my spending that went there. This rolled into my Thanksgiving spending. I just put it in December because I came back so late. So that's one of the big guys. I spent $90 while I was away with family there. But majority of the spending, I just lumped it all together between Miami and South Carolina. That's where I spent Christmas. Since they were all so close back to back, I lumped them all together once I got home, and that was about $190 there. And then the rest of my spending was like various things. I paid for parking at the concert, or me and my cousin split the parking, I should say. I went to Target. So yeah, nothing crazy there. The next largest one is groceries. Groceries was with $395 that I spent for the month. So that was about 34.9% of my spending there. Nothing different. I go to Kroger, I go to Walmart, and that was basically spending for groceries. Happy to see that. Toiletries was a total of $124 for the month, so that was about 10.9% of my spending. I don't think it was anything crazy. I think I just went to Walmart, got like my standard toilet paper, house supplies. Next is clothing. Clothing, I spent $50, and I only spent clothing once for the month. What did I buy? Oh, I bought American Eagle stuff on Black Friday. So I took that out of my clothing, and that was 4.4% of my spending for that. And then lastly was eating out. That was $115 I spent for the month. So that was 10.2% of my spending, and your girl likes to eat out. Majority of this is Dunkin'. I go to Dunkin' way too much. For Christmas, I got about $105 worth of Dunkin' gift cards because I love Dunkin'. Like, that's just where my go-to is. All right, but in terms of all of the spending, that is everything. And the main thing I look at over here is this left to spend column. To wrap up the month, for gas, I have $71 that I am left with. Spending, I am left with $130. Groceries has $45. Toiletries is $56. Clothing is $85, and eating out is $30. So this is important because this is basically the money I am rolling over into January until I receive my next paycheck. So looking at these numbers looks good to me. So that will complete the wrap up for December. And now that I completed the entire year, I think it would be nice to look at this annual dashboard tab that we have here within the template and see from a yearly perspective how my money went. So just in terms of my full-time income for the year, I was able to bring in $59,563, and then divvied out across the bills, expenses, savings, investments, and debt. So for the year, we see that $24,000 went to bills, about $11,000 went to expenses, savings at $17,000, and investments at $6,600, and then nothing went to debt. And then if we want to look at that at a pie chart level, that is 41% going to bills, expenses at 18.6%, savings with 29.3%, and investments at 11.1%. So I'm really happy that I was able to have this graph and show me overall how my money is flowing. The goal that I made for myself is that I really wanted to save for that year, and to see that a good percentage, almost 30% of my income went to savings is nice to see. And then I was also able to dip my toes into investing at 11% for the year. That was my first time investing. So looking at this pie chart, I really like the progression and the status of where my money is going. Bills, ideally, I want to always keep that below 50%. So seeing that was nice. So I think it's just a nice eye-opener to see overall how you did. This graph here will tell us what month was basically like my highest amount. So looking at this, it looks like between May and November were my highest earning months. And that makes sense. I think that's where my magic months were. So that is in line. And then this pie chart is all the same because basically if I had different income sources, I would see like what percent of my money went to what income source. But since this is all just my full-time income, the pie chart is just going to be one color. But if it was like a husband and a wife, you can see the different percent of who made up, the most pie for your income. But like I said, overall, I think I did pretty good. So I am happy, honestly, to put a wrap on 2024. And I am ready for a fresh new start in 2025. So let's go ahead and set up for our January budget. All right, so here we are at January within a whole new budget template. So be sure if you copied and made a new template, the first thing that I did was set up my savings tracker. You will have to go ahead and put back in all of your new balances. So basically wherever I ended my sinking funds for that year, that is the start balance for the sinking funds that I'm setting up in my 2025 budget. So I already went ahead and put in all of the numbers, and then I also put in the goal amounts that I am working towards within any of my savings and sinking funds. As I shared with you all in my 2025 financial goals, I am mainly focusing on my emergency fund as of right now. I'm trying to get that to $13,000. So that is basically the main priority. And as we can see, I have remaining to save the $6,500 that I am going to be working on saving for the year. But everything else should be fresh. I didn't fill out the calendar view yet to put my bills in, but I will get to it. But looking at January, some people in January are getting 3 paychecks this month. I am not one of those lucky people, which I'm jealous, but my time will come. In terms of my paychecks that I will be getting for January, I'm going to get paid January 10th and January 24th. So let's go ahead and start figuring out how we are going to budget these funds. I'm already filtered on remaining a budget, and I have my categories filled in. So let's get started. For full-time income, I'm anticipating my income to be down slightly. Since it is a new year, my company did get the new health insurance, and our health insurance went up slightly. So I think an additional $2, if I'm correct, is going to be coming out of my paycheck. So I just took basically $4 away from what I normally do. I don't know if that's correct, but so I'm going to budget with $4,348. And we will see how that works. So let's go ahead and divvy out the bills. First up is, of course, rent. It's the most expensive expense, but I'm like, it is what it is, I guess. So the $1,680 is what I am budgeting for that. Utilities, I am going to say $54. I think it will still be in the lower range, so hopefully that is correct. Internet, I'm gonna go ahead and put $50 just based off of last month where it came out at $50. If not, then it'll just be the $56 that I'm supposed to pay. In terms of electricity, I already know it's gonna be higher, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw $150 there and hope for the best. That should be good for January, and then starting February, honestly, I'll probably gotta budget like $200 and something for electricity because it just gets insane here. It is freezing. We just received our first snow of the winter season, and I'm just not happy. Like I do not enjoy the snow. As for rollover, we're gonna leave that blank. We will come back to that and get started with our expenses. So gas, we are going to do $80. I normally budget $40 a paycheck, so since we're getting paid twice this month, that is $80 for gas. Spending is going to get $200 for the month. Groceries with $300, toiletries $100, clothing $60, and eating out with $80. Nothing crazy this month, so I should just be normal spending with my expenses and getting things back to a regularly scheduled program. Moving on, next we have savings. First up, it is annual payments. That is going to get $50. And the rest should be normal. So car maintenance is getting $40, car insurance is getting $80. Christmas, we're gonna begin putting money back into that. So we'll do $40 for the month. Gifts is getting $20, household will receive $30. Medical, I'm gonna leave that at $0. Travel, I'm gonna put $345 in travel because I do have quite a few flights that I need to book. I already have my first vacation planned for 2025 in February, and then I'm doing something again in April. So I need to get all of the flights for all of these things. Home fund, we are going to pause on that, so that will be getting $0. And then, as I said, we're focusing on our emergency fund. So I want to put $585 in there for the month. I kind of have like a layout of how much money I should be putting into my emergency fund each month to make my goal for the end of the year. So I kind of want to stick to those amounts if I can. And then over here, we have investments with Roth IRA, and that will be getting $400. And this will complete my 2024 Roth IRA contributions to get me to the $7,000 limit. So definitely plan on hitting that so I can be done with 2024 and then get started with my Roth IRA for 2025. As we said, debt will get left at $0, and then rollover, we have $4 left, so throw in $4 in that fund. So as for our January breakdown, that is how we're looking. All right, so looking at the income summary breakdown for January. For budgeted, we have income at $4,348, bills totaled up to $1,938. Expenses are coming in at $820, savings at $1,190, investments at $400, and debt at $0, giving us leftover of $0, making that a zero-based budget. So in terms of the pie chart, for percentages, bills are sitting at 44.6% budgeted, expenses at 18.9%, savings at 27.4%, and investments at 9.2%. So that looks in line with where I want things. Overall, looking good for January. The last thing that I want to go ahead and do is put in my rollover balances to make sure that once I begin putting in any spending within this template, my total left to spend column is going to be correct. So from December, we said that gas had $71 left to spend, spending had $130, groceries at $45, toiletries had $56, clothing $85, and eating out at $30. So there we go. Everything should be set for January. Pretty simple, a plan that I believe I can achieve. So we should be good there. All right, you guys, so that is all I have for this monthly reset for the month of January. I hope you all are ready, budgeted, and planned out for the year. Let me know any recommendations, any comments, or anything. Leave that down below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You made it all the way to the end. We would love to have you a part of the family. But as for today, that is all I have. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all next time in my next video. Bye, guys.